How used EV values are dropping like crazy. Officially, the Biden administration has abandoned its bold goal of having two-thirds of new cars be electric by 2032. The sheer reality that the EV segment is not growing at all close to the anticipated rate has caused expectations to drastically decrease. Instead, despite the significant price reductions and attractive incentives, it appears that this expansion is slowing down even more with each new report. Here are the exact 6 reasons why EV sales are declining. Number 6. Market oversupply. New reports about EVs gathering dust on dealer lots can be found from time to time. Dealers are not all thrilled with the current state of EV sales. Furthermore, given the present supply, which lasts for well over a year, it makes perfect commercial sense for them not to even want to sell them. Why is that when it's well over the industry standard, you ask? Here's the explanation, though. The automotive industry was able to ramp up production last year as a result of the resolution of the supply chain problem, as seen by the growth in recent years, which amounted to over 90% year over year. Unbelievably, there was a 500% rise in supply. Growth has also abruptly slowed down at this time. Following a few years of growth rates of 90% or more, last year concluded with a very mild 50% year-over-year gain. Even though it was long anticipated that this barrier would be crossed, EVs currently only make up 8% of the US market overall. Furthermore, it makes sense that dealers would struggle to sell off their inventory given the extreme disparity between supply and demand. Since that early adopter phase is past and regular consumers are still not convinced about the all-electric future, however, we may expect an even further slowdown in the coming months. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that some automakers recently decided to reduce the number of EV cars they produce. Number 5. Price and insurance costs. While EVs are becoming more and more accessible, they are still far too expensive to be regarded as popular. Depending on the source, the average amount spent for a new electric vehicle during the past year ranged from $50,000 to $60,000, which is an improvement over the average amount paid in 2022 of roughly $65,000. That's still far more than the market average. For instance, the average salary for gas-powered vehicles is $48,000. The dearth of reasonably priced versions on the market, however, is a greater issue than the average cost. In actuality, there are just a few EVs that begin at less than $30,000, and there are also a few more that fall between $30,000 and $40,000. The remaining portion of the offer typically has far higher costs. Thus, mainstream consumers aren't spoiled for choice. Given this and the fact that hybrids are noticeably less expensive, with an average cost of roughly $40,000, it's not surprising that the market for gas-electric vehicles is currently expanding faster than that of electric vehicles. Because of their lack of range and charge anxiety, in addition to their more reasonable prices, they are currently a sensible option for consumers who have an eco-conscious agenda. It's also critical to remember that costs continue after the purchase. There's also insurance, which is noticeably more expensive for electric vehicles EVs than for their gas-powered counterparts due to a variety of factors, including a higher MSRP, poorer dependability ratings, a lower resale value, and many more that I'll cover shortly. Number 4. Concerns about charging and range. Without a doubt, range and charging concerns are a major factor in why people are still hesitant to adopt EV technology. Over the past few years, EVs have significantly increased in range. These days, a lot of models have a range of more than 300 miles between charges. That's good, but unless you intend to make regular stops at charging stations, it's still insufficient for lengthy trips. Furthermore, our brief encounter with EVs has shown us that batteries' performance is highly unpredictable. Specifically, a lot of external factors affect the battery's real performance. For instance, a cold climate might greatly diminish autonomy. The most recent test revealed extremely quick drainage while towing, hauling, or off-roading, which amply illustrates the severity of the heavy exploitation issue and suggests that all-electric pickups won't become the norm anytime soon. There's also another type of anxiety that has to do with charging. The glaring absence of infrastructure in the majority of places is one of the main reasons why consumers aren't ready to buy an EV. Since so many US individuals cannot rely on home charging, there are currently not enough public chargers available. Then there are the many instances of broken chargers, even in the most EV-advanced regions like San Francisco Bay, where during the past year, every 5th attempt at charging has failed. Number 3. Resale value. When purchasing a new car, a lot of people consider the car's potential for resale value. With EVs, it's considerably more difficult to retain some of the vehicle's original value because there is seldom a used EV market. A second-hand electric vehicle is difficult to find a buyer for, primarily due to battery issues. Compared to gas and hybrid cars, EVs depreciate significantly more quickly for this and other reasons. As per the most recent data, accessible electric vehicles lose about half of their value in just 5 years. In contrast, the industry average is approximately 38.8%, while gas-powered cars are approximately 37%. Hybrids and pickup trucks lose value even more slowly. Few of the most widely liked EV models maintain their value reasonably well. With a depreciation rate of 43% after 5 years, the Tesla Model 3 might be one of the exceptional examples. Even so, it still has a significantly higher rate than its gas-powered competitors. However, after 5 years, the value of cars like the Nissan Leaf and Chevy Bolt decreased by 50.8% and 51.1%, respectively, whereas the Tesla model has had a depreciation of about 55%. Naturally, the most costly and opulent cars like the Porsche take into account for the largest losses. Some of those EVs were able to lose almost $100,000 of their value in just 4 years. In contrast, within the same time frame, the Porsche 911 loses less than 15% of its value. Thus, you don't need to second-guess your decision while selecting between the two. Number 2. Low reliability and repair cost. EVs have fewer potential problems and are simpler than internal combustion vehicles. In theory, they ought to be more dependable. Recent information, however, indicates that things are not quite as they seem. According to a recent Consumer Reports survey, electric automobiles are essentially 80% less dependable than gas-powered vehicles. Software problems, malfunctioning batteries and chargers, poor construction, and inadequate quality control are just a few of the things that deter buyers from buying electric vehicles. Just have a look at the new Chevy Blazer EV, which proved to be one of the biggest busts in recent memory, exhibiting issues with nearly every facet of the car. Because of the severe software bugs, battery problems, and charging concerns, GM was forced to discontinue sales of this EV until the problems were resolved. But maintenance expenses are a bigger worry than dependability. Once more, on paper, EVs ought to be less expensive to operate than gas-powered vehicles. There isn't any routine maintenance like oil changes. However, because EVs are somewhat heavier, tire repairs are far more frequent. Experts surmise that even with regenerative braking, brakes deteriorate even more quickly for the same reason. Then there are the repair costs, which are greater since there are fewer skilled professionals in the field and because certain design solutions call for far more involved steps to be taken, particularly in the case of battery casing and body damage in EV technology. Number 1. EV technology. EVs currently don't have enough advanced technology. Even with all of the advancements, EVs are still insufficient, at least in the eyes of the typical consumer. Sure, a lot of EVs have great power and acceleration, but are there any other useful features? As previously noted, EVs' autonomy still lags behind that of ICE automobiles and their costs are still significantly greater. But convenience is the most important factor of all. Most individuals are not prepared for the radical lifestyle shift that electric vehicles EVs demand. It's a fact of life while driving an electric vehicle that you will spend a lot more time at charging stations than at gas stations. Regarding home charging, a large number of prospective purchasers lack such a luxury. Ultimately, we need only look back to the most recent Boston Consulting Group survey to see that just 40% of respondents intend to purchase an electric vehicle. However, even they have far more stringent requirements than automakers can now meet. A $50,000 car with a 350-mile range and a 20-minute charging time is what they desire. There is currently only one EV available that satisfies these specifications, the Hyundai Ioniq 6 Southeast R2D Long Range. Therefore, it's clear that more work needs to be done in the area of EV technology. That naturally leads to another problem, the so-called buyer regret syndrome, in which prospective buyers just don't want to spend a fortune on something that will either drastically decrease in price or become outdated technology in a matter of years. I appreciate you watching and don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you later.